Hi, this is Mike from Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Sahara Sync RGB and also the Sahara Pirate Ring RGB fans. Keep watching to find out more. Okay, so today's video is going to be mostly featured around this. This is the Sahara Controller Box, the Pirate Sync RGB controller and fan controller. Now this is actually perfect for most people who are getting into the kind of RGB space, or you just need a dedicated fan controller. This features a remote control and you can control up to 10 fans. Now it is actually only compatible with the Sahara type fans with the 6-pin connector, which we'll be seeing a little bit when I open the boxes. But essentially this will allow you to control all your fans, all your lighting from one easy, simple remote control, and also one wiring section. So you don't have a separate RGB controller, a separate fan controller, and all these different hubs controlling your setup. Literally, it's all been done from one box. Now, another part of the beauty of this is actually not only can you synchronize it with itself, obviously, but it will also work with motherboards. So if you've got a PWM header on your motherboard, you can actually use that as a pass-through and use your motherboard software or your Windows software to control the fan speeds if you don't want to control the fan speeds manually or with the built-in remote control. Also, the same goes for the RGB LED. So even though these are wired up to this hub, the hub has a pass-through with addressable RGB, so that's the 4-pin with the 1 pin missing, which will plug into most motherboards, so things like Asus, ASRock, MSI, all those kinds of things. So as long as they've got the 3-pin addressable RGB header, then this can use as a pass-through, so you can use the software to control these things like Mystic Sync, Asus Aurora, all those kinds of things. Although I would say actually this remote control and the controller itself, in my opinion, actually has better options for lighting than most of the motherboard's built-in controllers. So again, if you've got a motherboard that hasn't got any RGB or is limited on fan headers, or maybe you've got one already and it has got RGB and fan headers, this is still going to be right up your street for controlling a large amount of fans. Now you don't have to have a large amount of fans if you want to, you can just have one or two, like an intake and an exhaust. So say for instance a mini ITX system, you can only just use the 2 if you want to. And that's going to keep costs right down. This controller itself, at the moment in the UK, under £10. Likewise for the fans, these often appear on Amazon and things like that for about £5, which is fantastic. Currently at the moment they're retailing for about £7. They do fluctuate, so keep an eye on those and you can grab yourself a bargain. So essentially, if you wanted a simple 2-fan setup, you're looking at under £30, which is fantastic value for money, especially considering all the flexibility. So anyway, that's the intro out of the way. Let's have a look and see what we actually get inside this box. Now I have actually opened this already and had a quick look inside. So first of all, there is a very simple instruction leaflet. So it tells you what all the buttons do in clear, plain English, so you know what you're doing. And also on the back there is how to connect the setup. This is for Asus and MSI motherboards. For Gigabyte motherboards, there is actually a separate cable for these specific RGB headers on Gigabyte boards. And it also gives you instructions on how to set it up if you don't have an RGB enabled motherboard. So that's really helpful. Next we have the controller itself. Now there are a few revisions of this, so there is one actually which has got like a plastic case around the outside of it. Whether or not that's still available, I'm not entirely sure, but for me, in the back of the PC, because it hasn't got the extra bit of plastic, it's probably going to be easier to install on those cases which have got limited access. Now the one thing which is still featured, which for some people is going to be a deal breaker, but for me I don't really care either way, is the Molex power connector. Now in a lot of power supplies these days you still do get a Molex connector and it's generally separate, so actually it's ideal so you can have that dedicated power source go into one Molex connector and that is it. So it keeps it separate from all your SATA drives, all that other kind of stuff. So actually when you're coming to wire this up, it actually makes life a little bit easier because you can route the cabling around and not have to worry about can I reach the other SATA components whilst they're in the system. So actually, although it's a slightly backward step in terms of technology, it's actually a leap forward in ease of use. Now going back to the controller, you've got 10 ports on there, each with their 6-pin proprietary connector, which is just for the Sahara fans. Now it's not just these ones, you can use the Sahara Pirate Turbo and also the Duo ring and the single ring. So as long as it's a Sahara RGB fan with the 6-pin header, you're good to go, no problems at all. On the top you've got the connector for your motherboard connection, which you can connect if you want to, you don't entirely have to. Again, if your motherboard supports RGB, you can connect up to there. So you've got the 3-pin connector. Also you've got the PWM connector, so that will pass through the fan information from the motherboard into the controller. So on the actual remote control, you've got an option for auto, which passes the control back to the motherboard, or you've got high, low, medium, all those kinds of things. So you've got a separate connector if you need to use it, which again is great. This is the Gigabyte RGB connector. So it's got the 3-pin RGB on one side, the addressable RGB, and the Gigabyte 3-pin there, so you can use that one if you want to. And actually has a nice touch, it's got a little cover just to protect the prongs, which is kind of handy. And last of all, we've got the remote control. So the remote control is powered by a single 2025 battery, I believe, button battery. Yep, 2025. There's a little plastic tag in the bottom, so once you remove that, that then allows the battery to be used. That basically stops it going flat in transit, all that kind of stuff. So on the remote control, going through the buttons, you've got a motherboard sync. So you can turn off the synchronization with your motherboard, like I said, using the separate connector. On-off button, you've got presets, so Q1 through to Q5 for different lighting profiles. We'll see those in a bit. Fan speed auto, again, hands the control back to the motherboard. You've got fan plus and minus, so you can have individual control of the fans, and the fans will spin up to about 1300 RPM top speed, so you can adjust a airflow profile which works for you and your cooling, all that kind of stuff. You've got options for LED speed, so you can change the speed of your LEDs. So sometimes the LED speeds, especially on MSI boards I found recently, the LED speeds are pretty difficult to control, whereas this one gives you more freedom to set up the lights how you choose. You've got the usual thing, so you've got a mode button up and down, so you can flip through the various preset modes. Now there are actually 55 different lighting styles, so I'm pretty sure you're going to find one that is appropriate for you and your use. Also, when you're going through the color phases or the movement of lighting, there is actually a hold button, so you can press that and it will hold the lights in the position they are, and that will actually remain in the memory of the controller. So when you turn the PC off and then turn it back on again, the lights will stay as they were previously. So you don't have to worry about every time you turn your PC on or disconnect the power that you have to reset the fans. It will actually remember, so there is like some sort of ROM actually in the controller to remember the settings. Also there's a lock button, so you can press that and that will actually lock in your settings and essentially will kind of disable the remote control, so you can't make any further changes. For the simplistic approach, there's 3 options for the red, the green and the blue at the bottom. I don't really imagine many people using that because the whole point of this is to have control and flexibility and have different lighting styles, but there you go, it's there if you need it. So let's go through and take a look at one of the fans. So the fans themselves are 120mm fans, so 120mm, 120mm. The depth is 25mm, so if you're using this with a radiator, that's the depth of them. Each of the cornered pads has got a rubber bush there, so to eliminate vibration and noise and all that kind of stuff. You've got a 7-blade fan, and actually it looks really nice. The plastic is quite a translucent plastic, so hopefully that's going to show the RGB lighting off to its best. The cable itself, you've got a single cable which comes out, which I would say is about 18 inches or so, maybe a little bit longer. And on the end, you've got the proprietary Sahara 6-pin connector, which plugs into your RGB controller. So I'm going to take a quick break now, going to unbox all of these, connect it all up, and then show you some of the lighting profiles. Okay, so welcome back. I've got the lighting reduced down somewhat in here, so you can see the lights of the fans and also see the fans themselves. So at the moment we are in the kind of the unicorn mode, so it's doing the multiple color thing. Now I've currently got the fans set to auto mode, so if there was a motherboard connected at the moment, then the fans would spin at the pre-selected speeds from the motherboard, PWM controller, the temperature controllers, all that kind of stuff. So if I press now the fan plus or minus, then first of all it'll start off in the kind of the lowest speed of the fan, which actually gives off, there's quite a good airflow coming from that, even though it is pretty much completely silent. I can't actually hear the fan noise over the power supply fan and the PC behind me, so it is exceptionally quiet. So if you're looking for a quiet setup of fans, then this is definitely a very good option. You can actually turn the fans up if you want to, so on full blast. Again, you can possibly pick up on the microphone now the wind actually passing through, because it is quite a good amount of airflow coming through. And actually the airflow specs, from what I can remember, I think it was about 38 CFM, so quite a lot of air pressure. 1.1 millimeters H2O air pressure for static pressure. Not really designed for use with radiators, if I'm completely honest, more for air cooling. But again, for the money, they're fantastic. So let's go back to fan auto, and I'll turn the fans off. And let's have a quick look through some of the modes. So again, if we go to motherboard sync, now press that, and essentially they go off because there's no input from the controller from the motherboard. If you had your MSI or Asus or Gigabyte motherboard connected, obviously that would then pass through and you'd have the selected presets from your software, so you can do that if you want to. And again, it's very easy to switch between the two. So let's go through. So the first one, Q1, is your rainbow puke. You've got Q2, which is the other kind of quite a classic favorite, which is very common on Sahara boards. Then 3, got color phase. You get the general idea, so it goes through the various cycles. I actually quite like the look of that one. Moving down to the next one, so this is your traditional kind of aura flow or aurora flow, so it just cycles through the colors. There's a very nice gradient to it, and if you want to, you can speed that up. So if I press the LED speed button, that slows it right down. It's probably actually not the best color to show you it on. So let's go to Q5. So LED speed. So there you go. So you can speed it up, slow it down. There's a few options there of actual speeds. And the remote control actually is it's not an infrared remote control, it's a radio frequency, so you don't have to be right over the controller, you don't have to worry about putting any aerials or antennas from the controller or have any clear line of sight. It will work from quite a distance. They do actually say it will work for up to 10 meters. I haven't actually tried that, but generally from kind of like this desk over to where Kath's computer is, because we've actually got the same controller in Kath's computer, works absolutely fine, no problems whatsoever. So again, let's go through some of the modes. So you've got your red, your green, your blue, cycling through the various static colors, the classic white. Then you've got the pretty much the same thing again, but just the rotations. Then you've got your colorful flow. Again, you can speed these up if you want to. LED speed. Again, you get the idea, there's lots and lots of modes to choose from. Goes through cycle the colors again. So that will go through and then swap colors. Well, I'm pretty sure with all of these different colors and color cycles and options, obviously if you don't like the options that are pre-built into the controller, hook it up to your motherboard and use whatever is in your software. You may find something a little bit more to your particular liking. Again, lots and lots of options to go through, different colors. And actually the color spread actually does look very nice. I'm quite pleased with the color spread. Actually, the illumination overall, even though there are individual LEDs actually in the fan, it's quite an even light distribution. I'm not sure if that's translating very well actually onto the camera, but it is actually very nicely illuminated. I think this is going to be through the color cycle. Yeah, there we go. So fading in and out of colors. And the aurora flow. And back to the good old unicorn puke. Again, you can slow it down or you can hold it. So if you press the hold button, it will hold it in a particular position. So if you want a static color, but you want multiple colors as well, then you're more than welcome to do that. Let's resume that, and we can speed that right up again if we want to. So LED speed. You can slow it right down as well if you want to. And let's change mood. So that's a faster version. And you don't have to go all the way around the houses. You can actually there's a back button, so if you like one, you can just go back to it. You don't have to keep on skipping through to get back to what it was you actually liked. Put the fans back on. And put them into low speed. Keep things nice and cool. So there you go. There has been the Sahara Pirate Sync RGB controller and also the Pirate Ring range of fans. Hopefully you liked it. Let me know in the comments what you think. For the money, Absolutely fantastic. Now, part of the reason why I've got this is we've got an upcoming review of Sahara's brand spanking new case, the EK33, which we'll be doing a review of, and this RGB set will be going into there. This is a great new case with a lot of airflow, and actually looks like it's going to be a really nice build, and it may actually replace my Sharkoon case which is behind me, but we'll see. If you want to find out how that goes, don't forget to click on the subscribe button and click on the notifications so you get notified of the video releases. So I've been Mike, this is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. Thanks for watching.